Hey guys, it's Mike Tarallo. How is everybody? Hope everybody's staying safe and being well during these crazy times. Just wanted to jump in a few minutes early before we start and just test out our audio and our screen share. I also have Joe Warbington from Vizlib on with me as well. We're going to go through all the formal introductions and hellos a little bit after the hour. Right now, this is just informal time just to make sure everything's up and running and you can hear me and things are working. The other thing I am going to introduce real quick is I have a poll that I'm going to push right now to you guys that you can take your time and answer. Now, I've been doing this a while. This interface sometimes hides the poll behind the media player in your view. So if for some reason you don't see a poll in front of you, take those windows, move them around a little bit, and you should see the poll possibly hidden behind the media player. Okay, so the poll here is asking you, how do you use Qlik Sense? And there's a number of questions, and you could have multiple answers to those questions. So take a few minutes to answer that. And you'll hear me repeat myself throughout the introduction until we actually officially get started. I'd like you to use the Q&A panel that you see in front of you as well, just to communicate with Joe and myself. We will be answering questions, usually towards the end of the presentation. However, sometimes if questions are applicable during the presentation to what I might show or what Joe is showing, we will stop and answer them. But if you can use that and just let me know that you could hear me, that would be great. I'm going to do a quick screen share, and you're going to see my presentation in the media view. You can also extend that player to be full screen if you wish. So let me do the screen share. It usually takes a few minutes. And now you should see a slide that says Do More with Qlik for Beginners and Beyond, Session 6. So if you can see that, you could hear me, please let me know by utilizing the Q&A panel. And Joe, say a quick hello, just to make sure people can hear you as well.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Mike. I can see things coming through as well, and you sound pretty good.
Perfect. All right. So we got some good confirmation on the host side. Now let's just see if the audience is biting. Some people probably could have walked away from their desks too.
Sure. As far as, Mike, when questions come into the Q&A panel, that's something that, you know, I have up on my screen too. Are you going to watch that during the kind of during the session, or are we going to wait towards the end? I mean, it's
we'll
up to
wait
you.
mostly towards the end. Yeah, and we're going to read them live. We don't have to answer them like previous webinars where we type in. We're just going to read the questions. I treat this like an informal, all of us just got together at a Qlik meetup or in a bar having a drink, you know. People I know on the webinar, I use their names, say hello, friendly chat like that, and we just read the questions aloud and then answer them.
Yep, feel free to, as I'm talking, because I might get in a groove. And
yeah, no, that's great.
Pause me if a question comes up in the fly. I'm more than happy to help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're getting some confirmation from the audience members as well. They can hear us and they can see. That's good. So this is the time I now say, for those who have problems during the webinar, which has happened from time to time, it usually is a network or bandwidth issue or a host problem. Just refresh your browser and everything should come back. If for some reason the audio just goes away, check your volume control on your player. Sometimes it automatically mutes. I have no idea why that happens. It does this to me on the Insider webinar sometimes when the presentation is playing. So an IPA for me. Absolutely, it'll serve it right up for you. That's awesome. So right now it's 1:58 p.m. Eastern my time. I am in sunny Florida. No thunderstorms today, so it looks like we won't lose any internet connections due to lightning. That's happened in the past. And Joe, where are you coming from?
I'm in bright and sunny Madison, Wisconsin. We have 77 and no clouds in the sky.
Oh, 77.
So it's a beautiful day.
That does sound beautiful. I thought I saw that picture on Twitter earlier of you standing outside on your deck. It looked wonderful.
Yeah, I get back inside. I'm getting a sunburn.
Can we get a question came in? Can we get documentation for that? So I kind of forgot what we were talking about. Documentation for what? Is it for the IPA or for? Okay. For those of you who just joined, we just tested the audio and the video. Everything seems to be working. There is a poll up that I'd like you to answer. How do you use Qlik Sense? And obviously this is in combination with today's discussion, working with valued network partners such as Vizlib and working with their Qlik value-added solutions. So please take a look at that poll. For those of you who have not seen the poll, it might be hidden behind the media player. So just drag that out from behind and submit that question. Okay, so the question, I mean any slides after this webinar. So this will be recorded. I'm going to cover that. There's an archive of this recording. I can make materials available for you if interested. So what I'm going to just do is send you, actually, we set up an email address. It's do more with Qlik, but I don't know if that inbox is ready. So I'm just going to send you my email address and you just respond to that and I can send you whatever information that you want.
Can we use the Qlik community and post slides there too, right?
We could. Sure
an episode link for each one of these, but we could start there too.
Yeah, Joe, if you have something that you'd like, so I have an archive in the community that has these, I can create a page and attach a zip file of whatever it is.
Okay, yeah, I have my slides, images and things like that, and any apps that I show, we'll get the QBFs for them as well and get them published.
Oh, that'll be beautiful. Perfect. All right, so it is 2:01, so we're going to get officially started. Appreciate everybody joining. Once again, that poll will be left up for a little while, and then we'll get the results back in a little bit later. So let me just put my presentation into full screen mode. Okay. Make sure everything is good. It takes a minute or two to get stuff up and running. All right, so hey guys, welcome to another session of Do More with Qlik. And one thing I have to make mention, I am not just the star of the show. You can be too. And I would like you guys to realize that if you have something that you'd like to share with the Qlik community, you can be my special guest along with the other Qlik employees and Qlik partners to highlight your solutions, tips and tricks, and your overall love for Qlik. So keep that in mind. Just simply reply to the registration email. Come directly to me. If you have an idea you'd like to be part of these sessions, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to spend this time with me and Joe. Today marks our 6th session in the webinar series, and I'm very proud to say that it's been well received thus far, and it's proving to be a valuable asset for those wanting to know how you can do more with Qlik. Okay, one of the things that I always promise that I mention to our other departments, for those of you who are interested in learning more from a formal instructor-led class, we are offering a promotional 50% off for this virtual instructor-led class. There's a promo code here, ILT50 promo. I will post that into the chat a little bit later, but please, or you can write it down now if you have a pen and paper near you. But this is available for limited time only on public instructor-led classes only. Okay, you can visit more at learning.qlik.com and look at classroom training. Okay, on our last session, I covered an audience request. That's another thing. I do take audience requests. So if you have requests for topics you'd like me to discuss and cover, I'd be happy to do that for you guys as well. The last one, we covered some tips and tricks on set analysis. So if you missed this one, you can always catch up and view the Do More archives. You should have those links in the resources page. Also linked to what's called the community topics you need to know page. Okay, and there is a tiny URL that's here. I'm not going to read that out verbatim, but it should be in the resources links. If you have any other questions, I can send that along to you as well. Okay, on today's session, our special guest is Joe Warbington from Vizlib, and Joe is going to demonstrate Vizlib extensions and show us how we can design custom visuals and new interfaces using Vizlib. And he's also going to go through a use case based on mainstream entertainment that is near and dear to my heart, and I can't wait for him to show that. Joe, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm glad you mentioned that I'm beyond a beginner, as it looks like on the screen.
Oh, that must have been a cut and paste. I'm sorry, Joe.
Oh, no, that's good. 13 years in analytics. I'm just now feeling like I'm mediocre or novice at this stuff. So.
Oh, that's hilarious. You know what? That is sloppy. Let's fix that. There we go.
Like that. See, it's live.
We got it. Get perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, Joe. All right. So, another thing that I'm going to also run by is our next session is September 3rd. And this is a session I'll be covering our lightweight data transfer utility, Qlik Data Transfer, basically enable you to transfer on-premise data sources to Qlik Sense SaaS deployments. So make sure to sign up for that, and I hope to see you there. Okay, so before I turn it over to Joe, I have a little presentation prepared regarding some of Qlik's unique differentiators and capabilities. And then I'm going to turn it right over to Joe, and then Joe is going to take it from there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now let me just find my presentation. And we got that. Okay, so I just prepared a couple of slides because I worked for a number of different BI companies. I've worked for 4GL BI company. I've worked for an open source BI company. I worked for an open source data integration company. And basically, there is a common theme that goes along with all of these companies. Visualization alone is not enough to be successful in the business world. So Qlik has a unique advantage that we've introduced, which goes beyond traditional data visualization and brings the ability that allows you to find answers and make discoveries. And exploring data in this manner helps you find these repeatable processes, facilitates learning that basically makes the organization successful. And it's why Qlik's visualization capabilities are driven by our associative engine, which brings together numerous data sources. It provides global context. It helps you see relationships in your data, lets you see the whole story in your data, allows you to find the unexpected. And then, recently, within the past, year and a half, combined with our new cognitive engine, you now have a platform that supports accelerated creation, natural language interaction using what we call augmented intelligence capabilities. This, folks, is basically the next generation of BI, and it's a true game changer in the space. Now, as we continue to build out Qlik Sense, we not only add new visualizations to our libraries, but we also add more interactivity and enhancements, such as our calendar and variable controls, tab containers and buttons, one-click trend lines and advanced measure calculations, which are called modifiers. Basically all contributing to not only increasing the visual richness of the application, but also enables easier discovery and creation of new analytical use cases. But these new chart types and components wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for our unique APIs. And these are the building blocks, not only behind the visual beauty that goes into Qlik Sense, but also for the backend processing, data access preparation, integration and embedding, but better yet, it's also the foundation behind many of our partners' Qlik-enabled solutions that allow them to integrate and build on top of the Qlik platform. And Vizlib is one of those valued partners. And Vizlib builds value-added products for Qlik Sense that extends Qlik's native functionality with rich customization, including additional capabilities that, Joe, if you are able to show it today, this write-back capability.
Yeah.
Yep. Which hopefully he will show. And he said yes. So then we're holding you to it, Joe.
Okay.
And including template capabilities that allow you to integrate seamlessly into the brand. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Joe so we can talk about Vizlib and then show us all the awesome stuff he has prepared today. Over to you, Joe.
Perfect. Okay. Let's grab my screen share. We're going to do screen 2. Let that catch up in a second. Should be a nice dark background. And yep, perfect. Thanks, Mike, for the intro, and appreciate it. Just to reiterate, yeah, we are, Vizlib builds these value-added products for Qlik Sense, and as a Qlik technology partner, our business and our technology is built on top of Qlik. Really proud of this Trusted Extension Developer, badge as well. We were one of the founding members when that program started at Qlik, which helps you as customers, rest assured that what we build will work with Qlik no matter what version gets updated, and new changes and new APIs come out. We're going to adapt our software so that you can be well supported and get to the fun stuff of building things out and bringing analytics to more people within your organization. So, we have a tagline, add more power to Qlik. So it's very similar to the do more with Qlik. I think we're well aligned there. So we have 5 main products. I think many people might know Vizlib for the visual library, which I'll definitely touch on. But we have a number of other tools and solutions and capabilities that we add into the mix, all built for Qlik Sense, that add in these advanced capabilities, give you that level of customization that you want to build fully branded, stylized applications, and with that premium support, make sure that you are well supported. Now, when I joined Vizlib just a year ago, from a number of years at Qlik on the healthcare team, we were 30 employees. We're over 80 now in just less than a year, and rapidly expanding. So if folks are on the line, and the unfortunate part of COVID is some jobs were furloughed or you're let go, we are hiring. So definitely reach out. You're in great company being in the Qlik ecosystem. And I'm gonna quickly breeze through these, but we're gonna get to some use cases, especially one that has a right back in here that combines some of our products with Qlik to show you maybe some new ways of using Qlik. And so just to really quickly go through the products, our visualization library, the Vizilib library, contains a number of visualization and UI components. So you can build pixel perfect dashboards, advanced analytics are built into a lot of our visualizations, and we'll touch on some of those. We can also build those guided analytics applications to take this further into your business. It's great for those embedded analytics solutions as well. Self-service is our capability, and many folks on the line may be familiar with Climber and the technology they brought to market a while back with the Climber custom report. We acquired that technology and brought over their wonderful developers and product managers, and they're now part of the Vizlib family. And the custom report now has grown leaps and bounds, and a couple other visualizations that are part of this package. I'll show you what it can do and how quickly we can build a very flexible ad hoc report inside of Qlik Sense. For the finance folks, this one, you might just look away sometimes when you hear finance, but this is the first time I've ever showed a finance P&L report and people clapped. We have fun with this. We make it interactive and, get people out of Excel so they can, they don't have to break Excel or only do a month of data at a time. It's full power of Qlik with this capability to manage your business. It isn't limited to finance, but it's purpose built for that. The Gantt was a great addition to our product library recently as well, allowing you to do some time-based analysis, things like project management work. And we've started to see customers explore new ways to visualize data on an interactive timeline. Coming from the healthcare world, one of the first things I tried with this was to build a patient timeline, so you can see the journey of a patient. And many of us are probably going through this now, unfortunately, but if you go to the hospital or if you go to your urgent care, if you have a telehealth visit, these are all different points, and doctors really had no way to visualize all of those many different visits that you would have as a patient, and this gives a great way to do that. And then the product that has given me the most excitement lately is collaboration. And this is where we have a couple of components, one being teamwork, where you can chat with your team and share insights inside of Qlik Sense, but also share those insights outside and bring people back to the applications. I'll definitely show a little bit of this. And then the write back capabilities are where, inside of this product. And this has really opened my eyes up to new ways of using Qlik. I'd always built applications, I called them. I didn't like building dashboards. I wanted to build purpose-built things. This takes it to a whole new level of extending existing systems, or in some cases, replacing third-party tools, survey tools. Maybe some are as bold enough to say, we're going to build an ERP with this. And while it can do that, it's very powerful. Maybe you shouldn't do that, but it has the capabilities to do things like that. And that's what I wanted to just kind of breeze through there. I want to spend most of our time, Mike, on one solution and then maybe two other ones, and show you what's possible. So my three apps that I want to show, one is going to be around something you actually turned me on to in the Qlik ecosystem, which is retro gaming and video gaming in general, and how I could, make my job as fun as talking about video games and still get paid is something I've definitely taken to heart. And so there's a video game one, and then we'll do another one around Netflix, which I'm sure many people on the line have been binge watching, get a little bored, have to stay at home, get your takeout. So I have a Netflix application. And then the last one is really to show, not in the entertainment space, but something around the pharmaceutical industry and how, businesses are using Qlik and analytics to help find a vaccine and help find, medications and processes that can help with what the entire globe is going through right now with the pandemic. So I wanted to show a little bit of that too.
Yeah, that's a good balance of apps. Let me jump in here just for everybody who might not have thought about this. And, Joe brings up a good point about, different use cases with different data. Myself, I had a passion for video game collecting, and I started collecting this data. And then with working with Qlik Sense, started importing the data. I tell you, because of the interest that I have in learning about release times, developers, platforms, game ratings, for example, and then value amounts and release dates and how the value trends over time, I get to use all of the functionality that is embedded in Qlik products and understand how it works because it's data that I'm interested in. So if anybody new in the audience or whoever is working with data, find a data set that is near and dear to your heart, and you will understand the products even better. You will understand what a bullet chart means. You will understand, the purpose of a distribution plot. Okay, I'm not talking about bar charts and pie charts. I'm talking about the more advanced analytics that you see, and then you'll uncover patterns and trends, for example. Even something as simple as a scatter plot, understanding correlation between two measures, over time can, allow you to actually pinpoint outliers very easily. So if you're working with Qlik Sense or you're trying to explore, use a data set that is near and dear to your heart.
You got it. All right, let's grab my screen here. We'll start with this one. So this is my purpose-built video game collector. I really thought about how Mike Tarallo would want to use this when I was building it. Because you own a lot more video games and turned me on to those things. And the Qlikkies that are into retro gaming are out there. And I'm kind of catering to the choir there with this. But what I wanted to do with this was I really wish I had thought about these things a while back, and that's to catalog games that I've either played or owned. So I found a big list on Kaggle, a website that has a lot of great data sets, 57,000 games, almost 58,000, updated through about June 2020. And, where do you start with this? So I'm like, what was the first system I started on? The Atari 2600. I remember playing this with my grandpa and my mom. She was raised on games in this space as well. And so I'm going to click on Atari. We're going to see the entire application update, just as you expect, with Qlik finding all the associations, showing me the publishers that have worked on these games, how many developers developed games for them, Atari and Activision leading up there, and then the top games. So, we're showing some of the visual capabilities and, UI components and things that we brought in from Vizlib. But I often use many native Qlik visualizations. They show you what you need, and you can just get in and get out as quickly as possible. So, what game do I remember playing? And Mike, I might put you on the spot for the next one too, but I scrolled through this list and I'm like, oh, E.T. Man, this was a terrible game. We got multiple copies of this for free when KB Toys was going out of business. I was a kid, and I remember like being so excited to play the E.T. game. I loved the movie. The alien terrified my sister, so that was always fun. But the game, I'm like, this is going to be fun. So I've definitely played it. We owned it, probably far too many copies. And if I could rate it lower than a 0, I would. It was the worst game ever I think I've ever played, and it was trash. So I want to record this memory. This is where write back comes into play. So I'll submit this data. Qlik is going through. Vizlib is writing it back actually to the QVDs that this application uses. And you see now it has added that I've played and I've owned E.T. And this is how I'm cataloging the games and recording memories of games that I played over the years. And I'm just kind of getting started here. I don't have these games on hand anymore. I probably sold many of them, or between moves have lost them. But I wanted to take you through a little bit of that. And we could do things like, pick another system here, like the
NES.
Yeah, let's see. Where's the NES on the list? It's actually up here, isn't it? They've created and sold a lot of games. I noted that I played 21 and owned 10, so I'm just kind of getting started here. But out of the bar chart, we're going to show, a new capability that we added, which is called Viz Tips. And as I hover over different bars, it actually shows me a visualization that, out of these 55 games in the year 1986, I've played one and I've owned one. And I can, interact with the chart a little bit differently and see this different values. And so we've added in these capabilities to add in more context. So it's not just a bar chart anymore. It's telling you we could put trends in here. We can put additional information and see visually how we're doing. Or overall NES, if I hover over this, out of the 1,100 games, I played 27 and 19. It's bad because I know I played a lot more of these.
You got a lot of catching up to do.
So that's one way to interact with that. And using this form of collecting, some fairly simple questions and, checking these things, I have like a very interactive, near real-time application now to collect all these things. But I was thinking, how can I take this a little bit further? What if we have a full write back table, so we could see everything kind of in that like spreadsheet view that you'd expect in, what I was tracking this in, like a Google spreadsheet. But having this inside of Qlik means I don't have to go load that Google spreadsheet. I don't have to try to refresh it. I just fill out a new, let's pick that NES console again here. So all of the power of Qlik for searching and associating is here. And we're going to pick a game maybe that I haven't played or that you remember. Do you have one out of the NES that...
Oh, Metal Gear. That was the first game I mastered.
Yeah, here we go, Metal Gear. Let's see if I was good and I put anything about this in here. So I definitely have played it. I don't think I was fortunate enough to own it.
That's a 5-star.
Oh, 5-star. Okay, I was going to go. We'll say... I actually got into... I
stayed up all night playing it, and then you could not pause, and there was these, codes that you had to put in, basically, that Mike stayed up all night.
I'll add it to my wish list as well, so I can go find this and play it again. And so here, I've captured that information, I've reloaded it, and it's in all the other visualizations, just like you'd expect in Qlik. I don't have to wire anything together. So there we go. It's on our wish list. But, I want to push this a little bit further. Like, what can Qlik really do? And this is where I thought, I need a new interface. There are some ways that I want to see information, and the Nintendo Switch is a fun little system. So here's my new interface to Qlik that I sometimes use. And maybe folks on the line are like, oh, it's just a background, or you created a mashup. No, I'm inside of Qlik Sense. This is native, and it's not just an image. These buttons, I can press them, and I can go through different sheets within the application. I can interact with the data. I can, I guess I'm on Nintendo, so I should probably make a filter for Nintendo. So pick the developer when I hit the home button, and it shows me all the Nintendo games, and I can page back and forth and interact with the data, showing the games that I played or the games for Nintendo that were released in 2014, and interact, or 2004 rather. See all these classic series. They were going back for a money grab, it looks like, right?
Absolutely. People like me. I buy a Switch to play the old games. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah. And so I was thinking, like, how can we maybe keep the familiar interface of removing selections, like the clear all, so I can use the minus button, or plus, add some different things in here, and interact with the data in different ways. So there's no magic here, so much as we're using Qlik. This is actually one object. As I hit the edit mode, we'll show you how I built this. And maybe this looks a bit familiar to folks that have designed Qlik View applications in the past. I have multiple layers, kind of like an image editing tool, like a Photoshop or some of the newer tools. You can add in different visualizations or text items, or what I did here was a container of objects, and the buttons press and set things like variables or set bookmarks. And so we're using this one object called the Vizilib Kpi Designer to design the new interface for this application. So while it's called the KPI Designer, I think it's nuanced enough that while you could build, and we ship it with a number of templates, you think KPIs, you think big numbers, maybe some trends and things like that. So we build those in, and people can take these and then customize them, or you may create your own and set them as templates. So, I'm a creative person, I think, but I'm not a designer. So when I ask our team here at Vizlib to cook up some new things, they're feeding it into the overall library and giving you some new ways of using this information. But you can make the KPI the full screen and design whatever you want, like I have here. So wow. I have a lot of fun with this, and you can get creative as necessary.
Absolutely beautiful. That's definitely something that keeps my attention.
Yeah, I figured. I have an Atari Lynx one that I wanted to work on. I didn't get it in time for this, but version 2, we're going to have a couple of different platforms for you.
Awesome.
So that's the, I think, just maybe changing some people's minds on what Qlik is capable of.
It's the art of the possible. I mean, this is an example, it fits right for the theme of the show, showing you how you can do more. Yep. It's not just, a static interface.
And we'll come back to this one as necessary. This next one, I said I was going to talk about Netflix. And I want to show how, as my screen catches up here, how we can take some interesting data and, we're looking at trends, how many movies and how many TV shows in red, movies in blue that Netflix has released. And, as they were chipping along, these are all the streaming things. So you see it kind of start kicking into play in 2015. They'll have some hits here and there. And then when they did shows like Arrested Development, I remember when they brought that back and you could only get it on Netflix. And they're like, oh, TV shows are, people love this stuff, and Breaking Bad and things like that. And you start to see them taking off. But, the data ended as soon as this data set stopped. And it's like, can we predict how many movies and shows Netflix would create? That was work that we'd usually have to pipe out of Qlik. Maybe we use server-side extensions and do R or Python. But we added in, and I'll hit duplicate here so we can turn on advanced analytics, which are built into some of our visualizations, like the scatter plot and the line chart that I'm showing here. So, some people ask, like, why would Vizlib build a line chart? It's, it's so we can push it further, I think, is the main thing. So our advanced analytics section allows us to turn on forecasting. There's no system. It doesn't send the data anywhere. It actually processes the data using the Qlik engine and displays, in this case, a Holt's winter forecast, which has seasonality built into it. These are things I had to go, I'm not a data scientist, but I can read about it. And so now we see with air bands, how many movies Netflix could be producing over this time period, these next 6 or so, time periods, or 9 rather. So 9 dots into the future. So we have predictive models built in, but we can also do things like a linear regression, just taking what it's built from the entire data set and giving you that post. Looks like their movies are going to take off if we go with a linear regression. Or we could do things like the scenario analysis, which this came out of the need for a lot of our healthcare organizations and financial institutions running to run scenarios, because businesses and healthcare has changed significantly in the last 6 months, nearly everywhere. So what if the movies had a growth percentage instead, and model this out to how many patients get infected and how many more beds would we need? We have the data in the past, but we want to model it out and give some different scenarios so we can change that percentage. If Netflix adds 16% more movies each period, this is what that will come to. And because it's fully Qlik, you don't have to use just our simple expression. You could pipe in whatever complex expression that you want here to model out what you think this data, how to forecast this data. So we're adding in those capabilities, keeping people inside of Qlik so that they can do that work.
Can you tell me how many seasons of the Umbrella Academy they're going to make?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because you go after individual movies and it doesn't. But we can get things like this. Let's see if I take me to my other screen. I spent a little bit more time, and I found the release dates of in the data set for some of these shows. Like I mentioned, when did House of Cards come into play, or Arrested Development, Orange is the New Black? Great show, right? And then one of my personal favorites, Stranger
Things, yeah.
And they're out here. So we want to give context and annotations to the charts, because if it was just a simple bar or a line chart with blue and red, you'd go, yeah, there's ups and downs, but calling these things out can be really important. They turned a corner here with some of these shows, and that's when they saw the investment. And, it might have taken them a couple years, but now look at the TV shows that they're releasing, and then into the future, they're a media powerhouse now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be movies and TV shows, but like you said, I found a data set that I understood at the high level I'm interested in, and then I use Qlik to visualize it, and that's how I learn.
Yep, absolutely.
And then this last one, to kind of bring it home with an actual business use case is, throws in a couple of different features that we add to Qlik. This is fully Qlik Sense native. It's not a mashup, even though we've changed up the interface a little bit. And this is one of our components that a lot of our customers love to add, called the sheet menu, where you can customize the top tabs, you can recolor things, you can have a sidebar that expands or collapses, and add in different links to maybe different applications or the help desk if you want to open up a ticket. And we're finding a lot of people love this because they can focus on the interior part and maybe not clutter things with a bunch of filters. So you can put your really common filters off to the edge. We can pick England and Scotland. And I realize I changed green, white, and gray, and I'm probably going to catch some flack for that. But we want to give you those controls so that you can customize it to your brand, because these are important things for adoption within an organization. So if you're a pharma company and use Viva, they might not even know they're using Qlik, and that's fine, because they have the analytics that they need. They can right click. Here's some of our other advanced analytics in our scatter. Let's do a k-means cluster, and immediately see the cluster of these particular drugs or presentations, whatever it might be in this data set. So interacting with it is one thing. And, giving them that ability to walk them through. This is the stuff I used to build with QlikView, because you could really walk people through that guided analytics. And we wanted to give that same experience in Qlik Sense for, folks that are kind of in those two camps, which there's still a lot of diehard QlikView people out there. And I'm one of them. So this helps me kind of bridge that gap and come over to Qlik Sense even further. The last little thing I think that's super important is the so what. or I find some insight here and I want to share it. So you see these little chat bubbles. We put them on master items, visualizations, or on the sheet. I have a comment here that I haven't read. Actually, somebody on my team, Jonathan, said he likes these 205 positive reactions. Like, what is he talking about? Well, we know that he has selections in there, so I can double click on his selection that he made when he found this insight, these 205 positive reactions. And, I can continue the conversation here and maybe call out, Elaine's doing really well here. Add a little emoji or a gift. I think the Qlik ecosystem's, really into emojis lately, so we'll pick one of those. And now I'm having a conversation about the data with my team, and they will be alerted too that I made some insight here. Or maybe there's some other insight across the board. And so we see people using this to have a conversation about their data. You see these other ones that I'm talking through here. I can click on that, see my selections and insight. But, this is still within Qlik. And while as much as we want everybody to live and breathe inside of Qlik, sometimes they don't. They have other things. So let's go send this out to Slack or Microsoft Teams or even secure email where we could limit it to a particular domain name. Mm-hmm. So if I throw this into Slack, it's actually going to send, this chart, my comment. I'm not going to pull that up just because I don't have that prepped, but and I don't know what Slack looks like if I haven't looked at it for a while. So it does send that out. It gives them a nice link to come back into the application with all of the selections or bookmarks that I had in place, and we continue the discussion. So it's bringing people back into the data. There's no need to right click and export to Excel or take screenshots of applications anymore. That's our attempt at trying to get people to live and breathe inside the data and have insights there.
Yep, that's what they would call, you might have heard the term democratizing of data, basically bringing data to more people and to those who traditionally wouldn't use business intelligence tools the way, us diehard fans would. Those who are familiar with chat interfaces and utilizing, social interaction and media, they're still getting the answers they need, but in a different approach, in a different manner, something that they're used to and familiar with.
Right, absolutely.
Yep.
And so we use this in our internal, Qlik applications that we run for our business to understand, there's an account that we haven't talked to in 2 weeks. It'll come up on the list. We'll have a chat about it and assign somebody to go look after that customer. Or, here's a marketing campaign and this took off, and we'll talk about the reasons why it worked inside of the chat here. And so it lives with the data, and it's not some, external conversation and people go, well, that was a good conversation, but I don't know what we actually did with that. Here it lives with the data. So I'm pretty excited about the way people are using collaboration here. And that's, these three things, we have questions that might come in, but how did I get started too with Vizlib? When I was at Qlik, they had a trial for up to 5 users. I downloaded it and started playing around and building some things, and then I would see more and more customers start using it too. And I just played around for free for a while. They might not like to hear that, but I was probably kicking tires for like a year before I ever reached out to them for any additional help or to talk to the team directly. So you guys can get out here, and we not only allow you to download any of the products and try them for as long as you want. There's no limitation on that. It's just up to 5 users. But we also are building out those example applications and putting them right on our website with the QVFs to download. You don't even have to sign in to get them. So I'll grab those and put those on the Qlik community as well. Anything that we share that I build, I'm more than happy to just send to people. So that's what I had, doing more with Qlik every single day. And we got to work on that video game app.
Definitely. This was great, Joe, and I appreciate it. And what I'd like to do is I want to share my video game app that I developed with the audience, just to give them an idea of what I built with Qlik before I started taking on some other responsibilities and I had a chance to build into it. But before we do that, let's just take a couple of questions. This is also the time to kind of look at the poll results that I'm going to push to the audience. Once again, the poll results might be hidden behind the media player. And we got a nice mix of results here. I pushed it live to the audience right now. How do you use Qlik Sense? So 41.4%, Joe, use it straight out of the box only. 10% use it embedded, integrated into other applications. So understanding the word embedded and integrated can mean various things to different people, from just like taking a chart in line and putting it into another interface, or just accessing URLs or links into somebody else's application, or it could even be, coded approach to, developed directly in a third-party app. 58% out of the box combined with Qlik certified extensions to help extend the beauty, visual richness, interactivity of the product. 24.1% out of the box with uncertified extensions. I guess that's based off of organizations' need and allowing of the use of those. And then 6.9% currently not using Qlik Sense, but will be. And then 6.9% just kicking tires. So that's a nice little mix of our audience members and the use of that. But it's nice to see that we are seeing how people, 58% are already doing more with Qlik by utilizing the certified extensions from the TED program.
Yep.
So other questions here, just to one of my colleagues here, Michael Duval, is on the call, and he had a very good question. You mentioned that you took data from Kaggle.
Yes.
Could you share your screen real quick, or I'm not putting you on the spot,
No.
where you can get data? His question was, any suggestions to share regarding resources for freely available data sets to get started?
This is the first place I usually go out to for data that is kind of public data. Kaggle, you sign in, it's all free. There's these 200,000 public notebooks and a lot of public data sets. Usually they're like a CSV download, or you can use Qlik SAS and immediately put the link in there and just kind of pull the data directly from the web.
Mm-hmm.
I use those for things like sports data, entertainment data, like I showed with Netflix or video games. And there's a good amount of like public health data and things on there as well that people have collected. So if you trying to find something and you don't want to create your own data set, which I know can be a challenge, and you got to hook up your own data model there, you can go grab stuff off of Kaggle. The other one I use is data.world. Has a good amount of stuff there too. But also, be friends with your folks at Qlik, because they, the solutions architects and folks out there are building apps. They'll usually share them. That's where I got a lot of stuff. When I came over from the healthcare to kind of cover more areas, I went back to my Qlik friends and I said, hey, did you build an HR application? Do you mind sharing what you have? And I'll help remix it, and we'll play along with it and get it updated. So reach out to Qlik. You guys have a wealth of applications that are not on the demo website that I know people are willing to share.
That's a good point also. There's, I'm going to share my screen real quick, because this is another good point.
There we go. I think I stopped sharing.
Yep. Takes a second. So another great place that some people don't know about to get data or create data. No, I'm just waiting. It takes a minute for the screen share to.
Sure.
So this is being, so while that's ending, Joe, just make sure you click end screen share.
Yep. I don't have anything there.
Okay. I'm going to refresh my screen. I shouldn't lose anybody.
I think his audio just cut out. So now it's the Joe and Vizlib show. I'm just joking. But any more questions, please feel free. I know I saw one about if it's recorded. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it goes up on YouTube right after.
Yeah, okay. And by the way, I had to refresh my browser. So yeah, I had to refresh my browser. Yes, Jerry, this is recorded. There will be an archive. There's 2 locations for it. The resources link has the topics you need to know page that will be stored there as well. The screen that I'm sharing, I love this site. This has been up for many, many years. Walkaroo.
Yep.
It's a data generator. And now I think if you have the free version, you can generate like 1,000 or 10,000 rows of data. But I've used this just for mocking up data, and it actually creates a RESTful service call as well. So you could actually stream it in using the Qlik Sense REST connector, or you can just download it as a delimited file. and just use it that way. But what's nice about it, it's not just entering in fields and having string-based data. You could select the type of data, animal names, scientific names, bundled avatars. This key actually has grown since I started using this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy amount of data types that you could just add. Random Latin longs, you could actually create formulas and what if statements based off of other field values to produce other results for other fields. Under the, I forgot which one they have it, but there's another one under advanced, and you could do what's called a formula, right? And then you enter in your formulas. So just this example one, I'm just going to paste it into the Q&A as a question, and I'm going to send it to all. It's called Mockaroo. And this is a great place to we send to all.
Yeah, we use that in the healthcare quite a bit because, you know, nobody's going to send sensitive healthcare information over the web. You know, where we couldn't get customers' applications, so we ended up using Mockaroo to generate the Qlik Healthcare. What did Dalton call it? It's the General Hospital data set that's out on Qlik Community, and it was, I think a lot of it was built with Mockaroo.
Yeah, so that's a great tool. Let's see. Some people familiar with it, they've used it. A couple of nice comments coming in. Joe, there's a question here. I believe you answered it, but if you could look at it, can you trial Vizlib and open template apps with the cloud version? Now that desktop has been hasn't been discontinued. It's just now available for enterprise SaaS customers. So my question, actually, to build off this question, Joe, you showed a lot of great stuff. Now with Qlik's direction of moving towards, you know, a SaaS deployment, how much of Vizlib actually can work, you know, with Windows versus what works in the cloud? Or what's the plans on that you're aware of?
Yeah, as soon as you know, Qlik SaaS and Qlik Sense Business came out, we started testing our products and applications there. So nearly everything, we are in close communication with the Qlik developers and the API teams to build out, you know, additional functionality for writeback, which is relatively new to us as well. It's been out just for 2 months, but we're doing a lot of work there, and people are asking about that. So we have a little bit of work there to do, but nearly everything I showed today will work with just some security settings that you have to put into place. So yes, you can trial it there. It's no difference to us whether it's enterprise on-premise, Qlik Desktop if you're a developer or you're using that through your organization, and then the cloud versions, the SaaS editions as well.
Cool. And let me actually tie on to that. So this is a version of my SaaS environment. I have a business and an enterprise environment. This is the management console. Yep. We've added a section called Content Security Policies. And here is where you could add different directives as well as URL origins that are feeding these third-party extensions, for example. Right. So for example, you can't just have an extension loaded without it going through an administrator and setting up the appropriate access to those directives. And that's what this content security policy does. Actually, a simple one here is something that Joe developed way back when. This was this YouTube player, Joe, if you remember that one.
Yeah, I do use that quite a bit.
I use it too. This was just a free one that's available. And I just had to set up the origin of where the content was coming from. And he was using an iframe for this particular. So I selected my frame source directive. And now I could stream in and use the YouTube extension directly within my Qlik Sense app. So understand when you install extensions with our cloud base, there's this content security policy setup that you must go through.
Yeah, I mean, we have pretty good documentation on our website for that. In particular, there's 3 little content security policies that you put in place for Vizlib, and then you're good to go.
Cool.
There was one just before that too. Is there a limit to how many selections you have to share a bookmark? And actually, Qlik, you know, expanded the API a while back that bookmarks contain more than just selections. They also contain the layouts and things like that. And when they did that, we have no limit on the number of selections that are in that when you're sharing, like through the collaboration teamwork that I was showing. So yeah, I think there is no limit to the number of selections.
And also, if you create bookmarks, and I actually covered this on one of my Do More sessions, you can reference the bookmark by name. So imagine when you insert a bookmark for a reference, if you're using the Qlik Sense product, it'll actually insert the selections inside the bookmark reference. Well, let's say if you have 100 selections, you don't want a string of 100 values, but you name the bookmark, my bookmark, you could actually just reference the bookmark name.
Right.
So that's another way of doing that. Cool. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys real quick, based off of the video game theme, this is an app that I started developing and would be put on the lifestyles section of Qlik Sense, but it's just to tie into the things that Joe and I were talking about and our love for different data sets that we use. Now, what's going on under the covers here, and some people, might not realize that this is a app that is being refreshed on a daily basis, utilizing a incremental load. Okay, so the concept behind my app is that I have a collection of data, and this data at this point is right now just an Excel file. I'd rather have it in Joe's app now. But what you see here, if I just go to the hub real quick, and I go to the analysis of this particular app, it's just basically going to show you my collection. And by all means, this is not stuff that I've purchased. I'm not boasting about collectional values. This is stuff that I've had over the years of time that has collected value over time just due to the nature of retro gaming, and then also items that I have purchased over the course of the years. But this is actually keeping track of the value of my collection. And you can see the data has been running for 954 days. I started this, I believe, in December of 2017. And I have a RESTful web service that goes out to eBay and Amazon and all of the places that have sales regarding video game data. And that is actually loaded on a daily basis and then incrementally loaded into my data structure and then refreshed based off of the daily tasks. So you could actually see if I go to the management console and I go to tasks, you can see load price charting data. It's a chained task, meaning that the data is then going to kick off my retro gaming data loader, which is the incremental load procedure. So this one just extracts the data from the service. This one incrementally loads that data, and then this one refreshes the app. So this is what's called not document chaining, but task chaining within the schedules. So as this data comes in on a daily basis, it's actually refreshing this app. And then some interesting insights that you can find from something like this. For example, just silly stuff, collection growth value, for example, over time, right? My growth rate has starting to decline because I have not been adding to my collection, but you can see it, kind of raised a little bit. I haven't really bought anything in a very long time. So due to just market conditions, I'm getting a little bit increased growth on my collection. And then using, for example, a histogram or price distribution, right? The majority of my, game values are within $5 to $10. But I do have a couple of games here that are in the the 400 to 400 price range, and it happens to be one of the games is a collection for the platform for the Sega Genesis, which is the Sega CD. Okay, so and that's something I've had in my collection for quite a while that has collected some good value.
I don't know if I ever told you, but when you shared this a while ago, like a year or two ago, when you were working on it, I went into a local kind of resale shop that's just in my town. I just walked over to it. I had my phone. I pulled up your app, and I went over and price checked a game, and I took it up to the counter, Bubble Bobble, NES, something like that. Had it in the app, searched for it, and the guy behind the counter, he's the owner, founder of this small shop. He's like, "What is that? And how do you know all these prices?" And he was amazed by it. I came back and showed him on a laptop. And I don't know if he ever did anything with it, but he was amazed. And, when you get data that you know inside and out and can look at it in all these different ways, it's a game changer.
It is, no pun intended, right?
Right.
It's just like understanding how a distribution chart works or distribution plot, right? So look at this. When you look at this data right now, we're looking at collectional values by the platforms, right? So you can see the whole entire breadth of the value. Right? Wow. But look how many games. I hardly have any games for the Neo Geo, but yet there's this one game up here. This system is $583 now. This is Robo Army. This is one of those, large cartridges, if you haven't heard of the Neo Geo back in the early 90s, right? But the distribution plot easily draws your attention. You talk about outliers, right, to all of the collectional values, but then basically you can see here where the outlier is based off of the breadth and width, breadth and width of the bar. Right. And then as you scroll down a little bit long, you can see these individual scatter points, right? These are data that I haven't really entered, systems that I own, but just have a couple of titles in that. And then obviously NES and Atari are my two top main collections right here. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't, say, would you have known this by entering in this data? But like little values like this, $307 for R-Type 3, I had that when I was like, I don't know how, like early 20s. Yeah. I had no idea it's at that value now. So these are, so what are we saying here, people? Start collecting video games instead of stocks and bonds.
Right. That gold foil Zelda game, right? That's the only one as a kid I was like, this is probably going to be valuable.
Yeah. Hold on to your games. Here's another thing. Recently purchased items, right? I can see the amount of items. I haven't purchased anything in a long time just because I think my wife would kill me. The last time I purchased a game was over 100 days ago, so I got to even now we're going to type it in manually here. This is an input variable. So here, 300 days ago, here's the games that I purchased over 300 days ago. Their loose price, their complete in box price, their purchase price, if they were purchased or not, etc. Right. So again, back to the common theme of doing more with Qlik, and at the same time, we're doing some data, live data, if not real time in this sense, but right, this is data that's been collected over the course of 3 years, and then I could start playing with forecasting. And Joe and I are probably going to talk about that at another point. But now I have enough data to start working with advanced algorithms that I could work on this data.
You got it. You might want to not know how much you're going to spend on video games.
And then the same concept: game consoles, accessories, loose. Right. Today it's changed $9.37. Because we also with some gains, you also have some losses, right? So the Sega Dreamcast console, in this case here, today's price, loose price yesterday. Well, I want to see if I could buy one. So let's go and let's look at it and let's try to buy a Sega Dreamcast console. So here we're just linking and passing variables directly to the eBay site to help me make my purchase. If I wanted to see the source of this data, I can go directly to the source of the system that I'm getting the data transfer feed from. And you can see the additional detail.
Nice.
So
Mike.
Yeah, I know. It's you know what it is? It's great though, because I have a passion outside of Qlik now. No offense, Qlik. So no other questions came in while I was kind of going through that. If you guys have any other questions, Joe and I would happily stay on and address those questions. Hopefully you found this session entertaining and you enjoyed it. I know I did. I always enjoy doing them. And, Joe and I go back because Joe is a former Qlikkie, and he's always got some great content to share. And we'd love to have you back on again, Joe.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun, Mike.
Cool. So we'll just hang on see if there's any other questions. If you have any other comments, I take those as well. It's always good for the job. Any info on pricing? Joe, you allowed to talk about pricing? I know I'm not allowed to talk about pricing because I'm in marketing.
No, actually, yeah. You can go to our website and we have pricing on there for up to 100 users. And then anything after that is a short and painless conversation with somebody on our sales team.
While we're waiting for more questions, let me just make sure I have the last of the presentation. If anybody, Joe, do you mind me sharing your Twitter?
Go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. If anybody wants to get in touch with Joe directly and you use Twitter on social, he's going to be at Joe Warbington. Joe, where are you? Why aren't you coming up?
Jay Warbington. I didn't see my name this many years ago.
Oh, there you are. So he's at Jay Warbington.
Yep.
You could follow him there. and he's just as good at responding directly on Twitter as he is on email. So that's another way to get in touch. And then finally, join me on our next session, September 3rd, where I'm going to be going through Qlik data transfer. Okay, guys, it's 3 o'clock. We're at the hour, so I don't see any other questions come in. I'm going to use this time to bid farewell to you all. Again, stay safe. Be careful when you're out there. And Joe, it's a pleasure having you on, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with you, outside of this call, as we usually do.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
All righty. Signing off. Talk to you soon, Joe. Thanks again, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.